Origins.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Origins. I am your host, Carlos Santin. And today I'm going to ask you the question, is happiness a myth? Okay, so that's a deep question for our Sunday today. And to sort of explore this idea a little bit further, let's take a look at today at the word volunteer. Okay, so originally, volunteer is a Latin word, voluntarius, meaning of one's free will. And in French, the word volontaire, I think I'm saying that right, maybe not, is simply one who volunteers. And so, the actual definition of the word and the origin of the word is quite simple and straightforward. Some well-known volunteer organizations include Habitat for Humanity, Doctors Without Borders, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, Amnesty International. Those are some of the bigger sort of global volunteer organizations. Locally, there are many, including any animal shelter, an old age home, a library, a community center, a homeless shelter. Any local church certainly will more than likely be connected to some sort of local charity that you could get involved in. But here's why I wanted to talk about the word volunteer today. And I think, I don't think we can fully appreciate what it means to be human, and I don't think we can fully realize ourselves as human beings if we do not help others. If we don't get involved in something bigger than ourselves, if we're not willing to get out of our own head and our own space, and if we're not willing to do that, I don't think we can realize our full potential as human beings. I think in Western culture, we're taught from a young age, we're taught, how unique we are, how special we are, how we need to stand up for our rights as individuals, how we should embrace our identity and assert ourselves. And so I think everything in Western culture is focused on the individual. And certainly elementary school teaches this and instills this idea in kids. The idea that we're all unique and special, and that we all have something about us that is, no one else has, if you use like the metaphor of the snowflake, where each one is unique. And the importance of accepting who we are and embracing our identity. So the focus really is very much on the individual. Now, there's nothing wrong with this in and of itself, really, right? We all have to learn how to look after ourselves. We all need to learn who we are and be comfortable in our own skin and embrace our identities. And we do need to take care of ourselves. And so I don't want to criticize sort of that approach or that idea. Certainly, absolutely, it's important for us to be able to know ourselves and to be comfortable with ourselves and whatever our identities are and who we are as human beings. And those ideas do need to be taught in school. So those ideas are very important. But I bring up the word volunteer today because I can tell you from my own personal experience that you will not know happiness. And so sort of listen to this idea carefully, please, because it kind of goes against what, the whole idea of the self. That we will not know happiness until you have helped another human being. You will never be a fully developed or a happy human being until you begin to live outside of yourself. Get out of your own head, ignore your own desires at least some of the time, get out of your own head and your own experience and contribute to something that is bigger than you. Get involved in something that is bigger than just you and your needs and your identity. And I think it's no accident that in Western culture especially, we have so much anxiety and depression and unhappiness. Just people seem to be so unhappy. This whole idea, the whole industry is devoted to things like weight loss and self-help and self-improvement and exercise, and all in an effort to get us to feel better about ourselves and our identities. And I think this is no accident, because A culture that is focused on the self and not the other, I think, is a culture that is going to breed unhappiness and anxiety and stress and depression. And I really believe that. And so I think it's important. I think one of the best things you can do for your own mental health is to help other people. Get involved in something that doesn't involve you. If you're an animal lover, work with animals. Work at an animal shelter. If you love helping people, and many of us do, many people love helping other people, work at a hospital, a homeless shelter, get involved in a charity. And like I said, I don't want to diminish the importance of taking care of ourselves. And, the whole idea that we need to be comfortable with our identities, and we really do need to know ourselves. But if we just stay there, and we stay in that space, and everything about your life is simply you and yourself, and everything in your own head and who you are as a person, simply asserting your identity and focusing only on your career and your desires and your needs and your wishes, I think that's a really unhealthy way to approach life. And I don't think it fosters or creates a happy environment for you. I think it leads to things like stress and depression and anxiety and frustration, because if you are simply focused on yourself, you're going to, I think, constantly be frustrated with, perhaps not always getting your way, or things not working out the way that you planned, or things not going the way that you want them to go, or your opinion is not being heard the way you think it should be heard. And I think that comes from the idea of a culture that is focused simply and merely on the self and the importance of the self and not the other. And so one of the great things about teaching, one of the things I love about teaching, is that it forces me to, teaching really, it's not about me. Teaching is about other people. It's not about me. It's about me helping other people, in this case, kids. In my case, high school kids, teenagers. It's about me helping teenagers. And that's really what I love about the job. It forces me to get out of my own head and my own experience and my own sort of selfish desires and needs and expectations. And it really forces me to consider the other. And that's really what a good teacher does. A good teacher worries about the other and works hard to help other people. And that's, the great thing about teaching. And all of my best experiences in teaching involve helping other people. And I can tell you all my, the worst experiences I've had in teaching, and I haven't had many. I've had a great career, 20 years so far, of working with kids and helping them. But, every job, every career has its negatives or its drawbacks. And for a teacher, those would include all those moments where I'm sort of, where I'm not helping other people, and where I'm stuck, I'm stuck in a meeting. I'm stuck at some kind of meeting that has no real positive consequence to what happens in the classroom to benefit the kids. Or when I'm dealing with, quite frankly, when I'm dealing with colleagues who are not very concerned with helping students. I'll be polite and phrase it that way. But the best thing about teaching is that I get to help other people. Quite simply, that's the most rewarding thing about teaching, is at the end of the day, I know I've helped 90 kids that day, every day. And so I think as a culture, if we can begin to shift this idea that the individual is more important than the other person or the larger group, I think if we can initiate some sort of a shift in that direction, I really do believe, I think within a generation, you will see a generation of people who are better adjusted, who are happier, who are less stressed, less anxious, less depressed, and I think happier. So maybe if you made a New Year's resolution this year to lose weight or eat healthier or something like that, maybe you might want to change it. And say to yourself, I'm going to help others more often in 2019. And it might be the best thing that you end up doing for yourself, really. And so the positive takeaway, like I said, like I've been explaining to you guys, the positive takeaway for this week's episode of Origins is, if you want to improve your mental health and your happiness and your quality of life, I really do believe you should maybe start considering, if you're not doing this already, start considering maybe getting involved with some volunteering. Maybe consider helping other people a little bit more often. You don't have to do it all the time. You do have to take care of yourself as well. But I find that if you, in taking care of others, you also take care of your own mental health and your own well-being. So there's your positive takeaway for today. So think about that, please. If you liked today's video or any of the videos that I've done up until this point, if you could hit subscribe and if you could hit like, that would be terrific. We are up to 23 subscribers now, so we've gone up a little bit. I'm very pleased about that, very happy about that. I'll keep going here, and I'll get you one subscriber at a time. You're all very important to me, and I really do appreciate you watching and listening and just giving some thought to what I talk about here on Origins. Okay, so thank you very much, and we will see you next week. Have a good week, everybody. Take care. Bye. Hey guys, so I'm working real hard here on Origins. I'm working on improving the show each and every week, and I learn something each and every week as I do every episode. I learn a little bit more and hopefully get a little bit better at it. So please like and please subscribe. If you're watching my videos and whatnot. I don't have a lot of subscribers right now, which is okay. But we have, I've gotten a few over the past couple of weeks. A few more people have subscribed, so that's great. So please like and subscribe if you like what I do here. If you find it helpful at all or useful or interesting, that would be really great. I'd love to have a much bigger audience. I'm not there yet, and I'm always, trying to improve the show and get it to a point where, people really want to subscribe and watch. And I'm not there yet. I need to improve as your host, and I'm committed to doing that. And so if you could like and subscribe and maybe let your friends know or send the video to somebody else who might enjoy it and might appreciate it, that would be great. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, that would be awesome. Great, thanks.